You know those really cool TV shows where a couple or a family goes from living in a big house to living in a tiny house, and they build it and move into it and declutter all their things in a matter of 45 minutes? Well, that's really cool to watch, right? Have you ever wanted to know a real life story? You're in the right place. We are a family of 5 that has lived in a tiny house for over 4.5 years, that has downsized and simplified from a 3,000 square foot house down to a 650 square foot house. I have got a journey to tell you about. This 3,000 square foot house had 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, double car garage, and 3 rooms that you would put couches in. Guess what we did? We filled it. And I have never even been a stuff kind of person. I've always been free to let stuff go. But it just so happens if you've got the space, you fill the space. So we filled a 3,000 square foot house. I stumbled upon an article from the Minimalists that talked about minimalism. I had never even heard the word before. This article got me curious. It sounded very enticing to me. Now keep in mind, I had a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and 1-year-old. As a mom of young children, I was continually torn between wanting a nice, tidy home and wanting to spend time and enjoy my children. The idea of having less to tidy up and having a simpler home for me to care for, having less material items for me to manage was very enticing. So I started decluttering. I got rid of van loads and van loads and van loads and van loads of things. Can I tell you a little secret? Honest to goodness, I have not missed a single thing that I donated in those first couple months. Not a single thing. Fast forward to 2012, and we decided to move to a house that was closer to our children's school. We moved into an 1,800 square foot house with 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and only 2 rooms that you would put couches in. And now it has been about a year since I've read that minimalism article. I had gotten rid of so many things, and I was starting to reap the benefits. I was feeling freer. I had less things to manage and clean and repair. I liked having the extra space in our rooms. I really enjoyed the freedom that my kids were experiencing as they started to become aware of the amount of toys they had around them and what they really used and what they didn't really use. I continued to get rid of so many things and to simplify our life even more because I was starting to reap the benefits that I heard about in this minimalism article. I was becoming a believer and it was fun and I was enjoying it. I was starting to enjoy the freedom that was coming, the freedom of not being always in a state of wanting more. Now, I had gotten rid of so many things, and I'd like to say at this point that I hadn't missed a single one of them, but that wouldn't be true. I had got a little extreme and thought, bed frames. Who needs bed frames and headboards? They just hold stuff and you have to clean them and blah, 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 blah. So I had got rid of our bed frames and we had our box spring and mattresses on the floor. Although it was totally fine, I'll be honest, I kind of wish I didn't do that. I think I might have gone a little far in that. I did miss the bed frames. But keep in mind, I had also gotten rid of so many more things and boxes and side tables and little stools and benches, and I didn't miss any of those. In 2014, we moved our family to Vancouver Island on the west coast of Canada. We moved to be closer to family. At this stage, our children were 8, 6, and 4. And we moved into a house that was 1,000 square feet with 3 bedrooms and 1.5 bathrooms. And only 1 room you would put a couch in. Now, this wasn't necessarily our dream house. To be honest, we were pretty much going to be homeless until 9 days before our moving truck was arriving. It was a bit of a stressful time. However, we did end up in a house that was only 1,000 square feet for a family of 5, and it was totally fine. At this stage in our journey, for reasons outside of our simple living, we had gotten ourselves into a not very good financial situation and were feeling the pressures of quite a lot of debt. We started to think about and consider building and living in a tiny house. The reasons were financial. It was the only way that we could see ourselves being able to get on acreage and to reduce our living expenses significantly so that we could slowly dig ourselves out of this debt that we were in. Keep in mind, we're a family of 5. So could we actually live in a tiny house? I went to YouTube and I typed in family of 5 living in a tiny house with a family, tiny house with kids. I searched and searched and searched, and I'll be honest, at that time it wasn't as common. So the biggest family that I could find was potentially a 2-year-old and a baby on the way with a cat living in a tiny house. Was there anyone else out there with 3 children who was actually successfully living in a very, very, very small space? Now keep in mind, we're in Canada. I have a full understanding and respect for the fact that families much larger than ours live in much smaller places in other parts of the world. But in North America, I couldn't find it until one day. I stumbled upon the sweetest, humblest little video. It was a girl about 11 or 12 years old who had her mom's phone, and she did a little tour of their family tiny house. When I saw that video, it changed our life. That video made us realize that it was possible for a family with 3 children to live in a very small space. Once we knew it was possible, we decided to jump in with both feet. Now remember, our finances were very tight. We knew that we didn't want to go into any more debt. So we knew that it might take longer and it might be harder, but we were going to build our tiny house with as much used materials as possible, with our extra money and our extra time, which again, we didn't have much of both. We played around with a bunch of ideas on paper, but before we could finalize our floor plan design, we had to actually find our trailer. We set out with a budget of $300. A few months later, we stumbled upon a 10 by 34 foot metal trailer with wheels. It was perfect for us, and so I was a little scared to ask the people how much they wanted for it. Guess how much they wanted? $300. It was so cool. Man, we were jumping and hopping for joy. It was so amazing. So that began our journey. Now that we knew the size of our house, I could design our floor plan. I originally designed our floor plan with all the living space on the main floor and then 2 lofts upstairs. I went with that design because it's the design that the family had in that YouTube video I saw. Now, I'm 5'9" and my husband is 6'4". So after I put in tons of time designing this perfect floor plan, he said, "Is there any way that we could see if we could get our bedroom on the main floor?" I'm 6'4". The idea of crawling up into a loft every night is not enticing to me. I scratched all my ideas and started fresh, trying to fit the master bedroom on the main floor. And we did it. I designed the floor plan for our home, which was amazing because I knew how we lived, so I could design it exactly for what we wanted in our home. I am forever thankful to Jake and Kiva of The Tiny Nest. They created a course that taught people how to use the free online tool of SketchUp to design a tiny house. SketchUp can do anything and everything, so they taught people from the basics how to use that amazing tool to design a tiny house. I studied that video, and with the knowledge I learned from that, I designed our tiny house on SketchUp. The process of building the tiny house was not easy. We worked on our tiny house for 3.5 years while we were building a business and homeschooling our 3 children. It was quite an act of patience when I had the time but not the ability, or when we had the time but didn't have any extra money for our next building supplies. Slowly and surely, one little step led to another little step, which led to another little step, and I tell ya, it never felt like this thing was ever going to become a home. It was the building project that never ended. After 3.5 years of working on this project, the house we rented was put up for sale and sold, so we now all of a sudden had 2 months to find a place to put our tiny house and get it livable. At this stage in the game, it was still a construction site. That is a whole nother video. After 3.5 years of blood, sweat, and tears, our family moved into a home that we dreamed of, we designed, and we built with our own 2 hands. It's incredible, really. It blows me away. So many times in our first few months of living in our home, and even now to this day, we'll look around and think, oh my gosh, we built this. It's pretty cool, you guys. Every measurement, every cut, every screw, every hole we had to fill before we sanded and painted, all the stuff inside the walls that I never appreciated before until I built my own house. All of it, we did it. It's amazing. It's amazing how one little step after another little step, and then another little step, and then another little step led to a home. It's pretty cool. I want you to be encouraged with that. As I make this video, we have lived in this tiny house for 4.5 years, and our children that were young when we started are all now teenagers, getting jobs and driver's licenses. This journey hasn't been easy. There's been a lot of frustrations. There's been a lot of times where our patience was tested mightily. There's been times where it's been stressful on the marriage. There's been times where we get pretty annoyed with each other. So, did we do it? Yeah. We built a tiny house with our own 2 hands. We have paid off all our debt, and we get to enjoy our little corner oasis that is on a 5-acre property. Dreams come true, folks, and little steps taken in the direction of your dreams, they add up. I want you to be encouraged, friends. This is our story, but what is your story? What is something you long for or dream for that seems a little bit out of your reach? You can do it. You can. And I encourage you, if it's something you really want, go for it. If you're afraid, that's okay. Do it anyway. My dad, his favorite saying is, feel the fear and do it anyway. The process of downsizing from a 3,000 square foot house to a 650 square foot house, the process of designing and building our own home, and the experience of discovering the word minimalism when my children were so young and raising them in a lifestyle of pursuing a simple life. My kids have turned into wonderful teenagers. They're gracious, they're kind, they're thankful. They have no sense of entitlement. Are they perfect? Heck no. They've been raised in an environment of seeking a simple life and reassessing why we purchase things, what we surround ourselves with, and an environment of pursuing your dreams. My passion is to help others see that there's so much freedom that comes on the journey to owning less and living a simple life. If this is enticing to you, if that speaks to something inside of you that you've never been able to put words to, consider subscribing. I have so much to share with you. Let's encourage each other. Let's build each other up. Let's have fun together. If there's a question about the process of our downsizing that you would like to know, please put it in the comments. I answer every comment. And heck, if enough people ask the same question, maybe I'll make a YouTube video to answer that. Thanks for watching, friends. We'll see you on the next video.